But let me ask you, where are you now that it's April and we're in spring? Have you maintained your goals? Have you stayed on track? Or have you fallen off the wayside and said, hey, maybe we'll do this next year? Okay, that is all part and parcel or part of the difference between motivation and drive.
What's up,
Bam! Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the N2N podcast. I am your host, Dr. N2N, as my friends affectionately call me the Ninja or the Prolific Ninja. Because my listeners are my friends, you can call me Ninja too. This is the N2N podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, inspiration, motivation, entrepreneurship, and offering a little bit in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Glad to be back in the studio. Just spoke about 75 Hard last week, and it reminded me of a concept that I thought about along the way, and that is the difference between motivation and drive. Okay, so here we are. It's April. A lot of us started the year 2022 with big dreams, big goals, big desires in our exercise, in our fitness, in our professional lives, whether you started a project or not. But let me ask you, where are you now that it's April and we're in spring? Have you maintained your goals? Have you stayed on track? Or have you fallen off the wayside and said, hey, maybe we'll do this next year? Okay, that is all part and parcel or part of the difference between motivation and drive. Now, here's where we are. Motivation is a temporal thing. It only lasts a little bit. And why is that? Motivation or inspiration, whether you get it from a podcast like mine or listen to the other motivational speakers, it can get you fired up to do something. But fired up to do something does not create success. Because why? It is not lasting. Motivation or inspiration, when you're fired up to do something, creates a physiological effect. You might get an adrenaline surge, some dopamine release in your brain, but all those things wear away. Okay? So it may last you an hour to go start a project. It may last you a week to go get your fitness in line. But will it maintain you for months or years to get to that goal? That's motivation. Serves a purpose, but that's not what's going to get you to success. In contrast, let's talk about drive. Okay, drive is an internal, guttural spark of wanting to really improve or wanting to really get better or wanting to get to that next level. Whatever it is, it's something grander than motivation, which is just kind of like, I want to go do this. Drive is actually doing it. And why does that matter? Because success, as I have rediscovered, is the ability to do the mundane, boring shit day in, day out, over and over and over and over again. So motivation is not going to give that to you. Motivation is going to let you start, right? Like starting a car, it's that initial spark, initial surge that's going to get you moving. But what's going to keep you going is your drive. That's the fuel. Where a lot of people fall off the wagon, for example, in your fitness, like let's say your goal was to get better in shape at the start of the year or lose a certain amount of pounds or body fat percentage. But what does that really require? That requires you to get up, put on your shoes, put on your clothes, either go to the gym or get outside and be active over and over and over and over, right? The motivation will get you started for the day, but your drive is what's going to carry you through the action, through the activity. Okay, so how do you find your drive? Well, the reality is, you hear a lot of motivational speakers say, what is your why? or what is your purpose, right? That's very, very important to understand why you are doing something. Because what happens is when in your mind, when you're like, man, this really sucks, or I don't feel like doing it, or I don't have time, or you try to rationalize your way out of doing something. When you think about that purpose or the why, that's going to push you through that moment of hesitancy, that moment of doubt, right? Because motivation, you're starting out, you're inspired to do something, right? And you're looking towards the future. And it's easy to get excited about the future, right? But it's hard to be excited in the here and now present thing you got to attack, or the objective that you got to do right now. And when that activity requires effort, work, it's boring and mundane, motivation is not going to get you through. It's that drive, it's that why. So when you find yourself in that moment where you're hesitant or you have doubt about that task right in front of you, forget about motivation. Forget about motivation. It's got to be that internal drive to get better. Think about it in terms of I like to, sports is an analogy for life. So let's think about the late, great Kobe Bryant. Okay? Arguably one of the best players in the history of basketball. And you can search on YouTube or wherever and find online little snippets about his approach to work and the stories told about his work ethic. Okay? If practice was at 5 o'clock a.m., he'd already be in the gym at 6. Okay? Day in and day out. I'm sorry, that went wrong. Let me start again. Think about the late, great Kobe Bryant, who arguably is one of the best basketball players in the history of basketball. His work ethic was legendary. You can look it up on YouTube, search it up, but you'll find clips about him talking about his work ethic, but more importantly, about his peers or people in the basketball world talking about his work ethic. I think there was a story where if the formal practice was at 6 a.m., he'd show up at the gym at 3 a.m., just doing fundamental dribbling, fundamental layups, fundamental form shooting before the practice even started. Okay? I don't believe that was based on just a moment of motivation, because that requires a lot of intestinal fortitude just to get out of bed at 2 o'clock to be at the gym at 3 o'clock. Okay? That requires drive. And what was his drive? To become the best basketball player ever. So it's something that has to be way larger than that momentary goal at hand, which was just practice. The goal was to become the best player ever. And that is the difference between drive and motivation. Okay? So we'll be talking about more on how to find that drive in future episodes of the N2N podcast. But I wanted to spend this moment just to set the stage to understand what it takes to get to that level that you want to get to. And through this, achieve the goals that you want to achieve through life. Once again, this is the N2N podcast. If you found any of this entertaining or valuable, please do share this or recommend this to your friends and followers. You can always follow us on all social media platforms at N2N podcast. And we look forward to bringing you future episodes very, very soon. All right. So what's up?